What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from NerdVentures Tower, and I want to talk about DC. I know, right? Why would I want to do such a precarious and dangerous thing? Well, it's because I love DC, man. I love these DC characters, and I want the future of DC to be dope. And on top of that, there's frankly a ton of crazy stuff going on over at Warner Discovery, the DC film division. A lot of wild stuff happening, including wild leaks for The Flash. So I figured, let's do it, man. Let's go over these leaks for the Flash movie, talk about the positives and the negatives about what it likely means and what it's going to set up for the DC future. We'll talk about Zaslav. We'll talk about Ann Sarnoff, Jason Kilar, exiting the company, but Toby Emmerich remaining, and the sort of battle with the fans about how that will all work. Okay, hold on to your butts, DC fan. It's future Josh that is recording a little segment here in post-edit world right after we recorded this video, and most of the information in this is absolutely still valid, by the way, so you can watch the whole video and still really enjoy it. But there has been sort of breaking news, a big report out there about how Zaslav does want to make a big change to DCEU films, and he is actively looking for his Kevin Feige. Now, I'm pulling this tweet up right here. This is by Eric Davis, a reliable Hollywood insider, and it comes from Variety. This is a big scoop from Variety. In the tweet here by Eric Davis, he does the TLDR in the tweet. I do recommend you go check out the article itself. It's a pretty nuanced bit, but it's interesting. Something has changed, basically, right? It says new Discovery, Warner Brothers Discovery wants overhaul DC entertainment. Variety says they want a Kevin Feige-like leader. It says that DC lacks coherent creative and brand strategy, and that they want to revitalize characters like Superman. They want more stuff like Joker, which is pretty interesting, okay? Now, it really does seem like he's looking for somebody to overhaul and revitalize the DCEU brand. That's my man Zaslav, right? So in the video you're about to watch, I make mention of the fact, and I talk about how David Zaslav is streamlining things. He did get some people out of the way and has streamlined his sort of control over what is going on over at DC Films. It's also important to note that Zaslav moved to LA. He now has a home in Los Angeles, and he's planning on being very active in what happens with the DC and the film division of the new Warner Brothers Discovery company. And plainly, it does look like he is looking for a hire that in some ways would replace Toby Emmerich and have a Kevin Feige-like person over there at Warner Brothers Discovery. This is an absolutely new and crazy development, okay? So I wanted to put it out here. I also just want to throw out my hope, and that, of course, is that Zack Snyder himself comes back and takes this role. It would be insane, the craziest hero arc I've ever seen, and I actually think Zack is a brilliant producer, and he would have the ability to do this, and to go from being kicked out, booted out, to coming back and being in charge of everything, man, it would just be great. No real sign of that happening. It honestly feels like something of a pipe dream or a fanboy dream that I usually do have, but we will follow this story closely. I'll probably stream about this tomorrow over on the streaming channel at 10:30 a.m. in the morning, so come on by. We'll go over the developments, but this certainly does change things, and maybe my tone in the video was a little bit more like, I don't know, Snyder fans, I don't know. This very story changes things and gives huge hope and possibilities for the future. Okay, I'm going to get out of here and get back to your regularly scheduled video. Just remember, if I seemed a little doom and gloom about Snyder and Snyder future and Henry Cavill Superman, well, things have changed slightly, so we're a little bit more hopeful. Okay, I hope you enjoy the video. And then I want to finish this video off by talking about two ways that I think DC Films could remove Ezra Miller from the DCEU future for either a time or permanently. I've thought of some cool ways that they could do this, and it doesn't even really break the canon, so I'll talk about that at the end of the video, because frankly, I think most of us are on the same page at this point. Ezra's gots to go. So let's start with the merger, some of the people that are exiting the company, and some of the people that are remaining. Now, sort of a TLDR on why all of this matters. It's basically because DC Films has been a huge mess and had a majorly divided fan base for a long time. Even before the Justice League movie came out, the Snyder films were actually kind of controversial. Batman v Superman especially, I just really didn't like as a theatrical movie. Now, what's weird about that is after the Snyder Cut was made a reality and showcased to a lot of critical acclaim and a lot of acclaim by fans, a lot of narratives started coming out, and basically the picture was painted that even during Batman v Superman, the studio was doing things, tinkering with these films and removing a lot of beats that Zack had put in there, and that's why the movie was bad. And frankly, I kind of believe this. As you look back at that film, if you watch the theatrical version and then the director's cut, you can obviously see that the director's cut makes way more sense as a movie. I think it's like 10 times better of a film. And even David Ayer has been talking a lot in the past couple of years about all the different things that the studio did to his Suicide Squad. And that movie really, in my opinion, sucks all the wiener. So with all of that sort of laid out there for DC fans, this idea of yet again another merger and a changing of the guard for the leadership of Warner Brothers and DC Films was really a sign of hope. This David Zaslav guy, man, a lot of the Snyder fans they think this dude is their golden ticket for revitalizing the SynderVerse, for bringing Zack back and sort of righting the wrongs of all of these new DC things and all the weirdness coming from people like Toby Emmerich and other people within Warner Media. And as with most things, there's like the reality of what's going on and the perception out there by fans. And I know this thing is super complicated and nuanced, but essentially, guys, I don't think the sort of crazy changing of the guard that a lot of Snyder fans were hoping for, I don't think that happened when people like Kalar and Ann Sarnoff exited the company. Now, Ann Sarnoff made some crazy comments about the Snyder cut and the Snyder fans and stuff like that. And so, you know, a lot of fans sort of cheered her going. But Jason Kalar had always been sort of an ally of the Snyder movement. And it's really weird to see a lot of people online sort of cheer him exiting the company and looking at Zaslav to come in and take care of business. Toby Emmerich, who was also really sort of vilified by the Snyder fans, he's remained at the company, and I think he even got a contract extension. I'm not 100% on that, but he's at least staying to the duration of the contract that he currently had. Walter Hamada is also staying with the company. And so I think from the perspective of Snyder fans or fans of DC that just want them to make a lot better decisions, some of these exits are probably good, and it seems like, if anything, the entire hierarchy over there or with DC Films is a little bit more streamlined, which is likely very good. But Toby Emmerich is still there, and I think still will hold major pull in the decisions that DC will make moving forward. Same thing with Jim Lee and Walter Hamada. I think all of those people are basically in the same position, and we'll wait to see if there are updates about them leaving or about Zaslav taking more direct control. But for now, the idea that Zaslav's going to come in and change all these things and make things happen, I'm not ready to say that is a reality yet. However, there is hope, and when it comes to the Flash movie specifically, there does appear to be some changes that were made to the film that at least open up the possibility of SynderVerse still being around. However, it's also pretty damn clear that the future that DC wants to have for the majority of their films and for their Justice League members will not be the Snyder people, or at least mostly not the Snyder people. But let's talk about the leaks. Like, what am I talking about exactly? Well, I first want to say that there was sort of an ongoing conversation about the validity of these leaks, and there are a lot of fake Flash leaks out there. But just through referencing different things on the DCEU leaks subreddit and what other insiders are saying, we do have a pretty good idea of some major beats and things that will happen in the movie and in the post-credit scene. So spoiler warning, as we are going to talk about things that we believe will end up being in the film. Again, the film's a year away now, and maybe Papa Zaslav is going to come in and make all these crazy changes. Who knows for sure? But as of now, this is what we're looking at. If you don't want spoilers, get on out of here. So the movie begins in the SynderVerse. Batfleck, Jeremy Irons as Alfred are going to be chasing somebody down. They get the help of Barry, and Barry's going to be like saving people from a hospital. It's apparently going to be a really, really cool scene. Even Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is said to show up in that scene. No word of Henry Cavill or Jason Momoa Aquaman, although it's rumored that Momoa will be in the film. No word of them being in the beginning of the Flash movie. But essentially all of that will happen, and it will indeed be the SynderVerse. There's even some reference from the Ben Affleck Batman talking to Barry about how he went back in time before to save us. And essentially you're going to get a version of the Flashpoint story from DC Comics with Barry going back in time to attempt to save his mother. The Ben Affleck Batman is helping Barry try to get his father out of jail and prove that his father is innocent. And this is what sort of shows them what's actually going on with that scene in the past. Barry then goes and tries to save his mom. Barry is then kicked out of that timeline into another universe, and this is going to be the universe that essentially is the Michael Keaton Batman universe. However, this Michael Keaton had all the things that happened to him in the other movies happen to him, but there's a divergent course. He becomes a variant, and there's all kinds of stuff that happens to this character that essentially will not affect the continuity of the one we met before in the old Michael Keaton Batman movies. And I believe, if I am cross-referencing all the leaks correctly, the event that's really going to divert Michael Keaton's Batman will be the showing up of the Kryptonians, of Zod coming to Earth. Only in this reality, there's no Superman. Superman dies as an infant, and instead the Supergirl character is the first Kryptonian to show up on Earth. But instead of being raised in Kansas by some wholesome American old people, she is captured by the government and kept underground as an experiment. This mirrors what happens to the Superman in the Flashpoint story from DC Comics. That dude was also experimented on. He's all skinny. He's never really seen the sun before. They're going to replace that beat with Supergirl in the Flash movie. Now, without giving away the twist, the villain, and what ends up happening in that reality, the important and essential part of this is that after Barry returns from this trip, where again, he starts by trying to save his mother, then he's trying to figure out who's hunting him throughout the Speed Force, or, maybe something like that. Regardless, once all of that multiversal craziness stuff is done and Barry returns to our timeline, there's no Superman. Supergirl is a member of the Justice League, and Michael Keaton's Batman is the Batman and not Ben Affleck. And there are two things that are going to be clarified in post-credit scenes, which are going to make it really obvious where we are going from here. Number one, there's apparently a scene with Aquaman where he's going to definitely confirm that there's no Superman on our Earth or in this timeline. So that aspect from the universe that Barry goes to is sort of going to be crushed and wedged into this new reality. And Michael Keaton is the Batman. Again, they're going to sort of take Snyder's universe and this experimental new version of Keaton's Batman and slam it all together, and that's what we're going to be looking at for the new DCEU. But, and this is very important for Snyder Cut fans, there's also apparently a post-credit scene where Ben Affleck's Batman is going to say something to Barry, essentially saying, "Come find us, Barry." And that scene is meant to set up a crisis event. And so what it seems like they are doing is setting up a main continuity with Michael Keaton as Batman, no Superman, and Supergirl being the Kryptonian or sort of Superman replacement, and Jason Momoa's Aquaman, Wonder Woman by Gal Gadot, and the Flash played by Ezra Miller, all existing as the Justice League for, let's say, the next series of movies. This would include things like the Shazam movie, the Black Adam movie, and pretty much anything moving forward after the Flash film, which could explain why Henry Cavill's Superman and Ben Affleck's Batman body doubles were both pulled from the scene and the cameo at the end of the Peacemaker show, as they want the Peacemaker show to exist in the new DCEU continuity. So they removed Cavill's Superman and Ben Affleck Batman because, of course, those elements are no longer present in the current universe. And well, the thing about all of this, guys, is that it's kind of exactly what we've been talking about for over a year now. It's essentially exactly what we thought it was going to be. They're mushing timelines together, creating a new continuity, putting the Snyderverse over to the side where it can still be accessible if those people want to return, and they're setting up a big crisis level event which could see return of all kinds of fun characters. And Crisis, if you didn't know, which most of you watching this channel probably do, but just TLDR on it, it was an event in DC Comics, and there are tons of different versions of it, but essentially it involves multiversal versions of of the Justice League teaming up against some crazy big bad and preventing the destruction of the entire multiverse. There are plenty of times where multiple Superman and multiple Batman work together. And this, of course, would be a have your cake and eat it too kind of a thing, where they could do a new DCEU with Supergirl and Keaton Batman, do some fun movies during that continuity, and eventually do some crazy crossover, which involves maybe all of their other live action properties. And honestly, I'm kind of split on it, dude. Like, it super sucks that they're not going to have Cavill's Superman. And I think it's a really weird choice to have Supergirl be the only Kryptonian for there not to be Superman in this universe. And really and truly, if like Sasha is there to sort of mimic the Man of Steel and be the Boy Scout, I find that to be really weird and kind of whack as well. I mean, I guess the best version of this, or the best scenario forward, would be that you do your main movies and all your Justice League continuity that you want to do with all these movies that you have coming, and then you could still have side projects like the Batman, like the new Superman stuff that maybe JJ is doing, maybe not, maybe some Snyder stuff over on HBO Max. You can have all that stuff existing separately and then tie it all together to your main movie continuity. But again, I just think it's a really weird choice to take Superman out of the main picture for your DCEU Justice League. And also, if Michael Keaton is an older, more retired Batman that's setting up Batgirl to take over for him in the Justice League, again, that just feels like a really weird choice. Like, I'm not even gonna sit here and say like it's just crazy wokeness and like it's a horrible idea just on that basis point. I just think it's rather foolish to build the Justice League up without the Trinity, without the most popular DCEU characters or DC characters. Like, that just seems really whack. But it seems like it's more real than ever. So of course, let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. But before we get out of here, let me tell you the two ways I think DCEU could handle the Ezra Miller problem. And by the Ezra Miller problem, I just mean, well, this dude wilding out. He's absolutely a super big PR risk, and maybe even a risk to the bottom line of movies that he's going to be in. It's gotten that bad. Number one, and I've seen a lot of people talk about this, so you do the movie exactly as you have done it, except at the very end, Barry comes back to the main timeline and he is also changed. You recast just for the Barry at the end, and you could have him be Grant Gust in Flash, which I think would be absolutely amazing, or you could totally recast a new person. Like, they're already changing who these people are and what they're doing, and you could still have this Barry have all the memories of the old Barry. He's just like changed a little. Or option number two, you have Barry dissolve into the Speed Force and you replace him with Wally West. This was done in comics before, and Barry Allen was missing from comics for like 20 years. Wally West was the main Flash, and that ran for a long time. And if you really did eventually want to try to bring Ezra back, or maybe just give Ezra some time to go work on their mental health, then this would be an interesting way to do such a thing. But, you know, honestly, without getting too crazy deep into it, I think that Ezra Miller it's gone way too far, and there has to be something done. And I think, you know, just from the perspective of having like fair justice, I mean, look what they did to Johnny Depp, and they're gonna just make this dude quietly still be in all these movies. Like, I think that's crazy. So in the idea of being fair, I think it makes sense to remove him. I think it's also smart because he's a risk at this point, even to the box office, because I think people really dislike this, you know, person, like, holy crap. And also, just out of empathy for Ezra, I think removing Ezra from a big franchise like this would actually be good for him getting the help that he needs, talking to people, etc., etc. So those are my thoughts on all of that. But yeah, man, wild, long DC video, but there's a lot going on out there in the world of DC. I'm hopeful for the future, but I'm super trepidatious about this Supergirl, you know, Keaton Batman, Batgirl direction. You let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. If you like this video, you better smash a like on it, and come on by our live streaming channel where we stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We're always talking about all the nerdy things going on in the world. We get into good discussion every day. You should come on by. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.